Welcome! We're about to dive into a simple idea, but one that can totally change how you look at challenges, setbacks, and even your own potential. It's all about what we call a growth mindset, and it really just starts with a small shift in how you think.
So this whole thing kicked off with a pretty surprising reaction. A psychologist, Carol Dweck, was studying how kids handle failure. She gave this 10-year-old boy some really tough puzzles, and instead of getting all frustrated, his face just lit up, and he said, "I love a challenge." That one little comment, it basically sparked a revolution in how we think about success.
You know, that kid was onto something huge. He didn't see those difficult puzzles as some kind of final judgment on his intelligence. Nope, he saw them as a chance to learn something new. And that one simple switch in perspective, well, that's the whole foundation of a growth mindset.
Dr. Dweck's research really just started with a simple question. What do students do when they run into hard problems? She wasn't even looking for different mindsets, but she ended up finding this huge difference in how they reacted when things got tough.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. Some of these kids didn't just put up with the difficulty, they actually thrived on it. They thought the harder puzzles were way more interesting, even fun. The struggle itself was the thing that pulled them in.
And this really gets to the core belief they had. For these kids, it wasn't failing, it was learning. They believed their intelligence wasn't some fixed thing they were born with, but that it was something they could actually build, through effort and trying new things.
So this discovery led Dr. Dweck to a really powerful conclusion. We all tend to live in one of two mindset worlds, and each one has its own set of rules for what success and failure mean. Okay, so first up, you've got the fixed mindset world. In this world, you believe your intelligence is just a static trait. It is what it is. So every single situation feels like a test. The question you're always asking yourself is, am I going to look smart here or am I going to look dumb? It's a world that's totally driven by needing to prove yourself.
But then you have the growth mindset world. And here, you believe your abilities can actually be developed through hard work. The goal isn't to prove how great you are. It's to get better. And that shift creates a genuine passion for learning and makes you so much more resilient.
And when you put them side by side like this, you can really see how these two core beliefs create completely different realities for people. If you have a fixed view where intelligence is static, it just makes sense that you'd avoid challenges where you might fail. But if you truly believe your intelligence can be developed, then challenges, well, they become the only way to get to mastery.
This illustration just nails it, doesn't it? It shows you exactly where those two paths lead. The fixed mindset path often leads to people leveling off early, never really reaching their full potential. But that growth mindset path, with its whole cycle of embracing challenges, sticking with it, learning from what happens, it just leads to higher and higher levels of achievement.
So that's the theory. But how does this actually show up in real life? Let's walk through a pretty common scenario to see these two mindsets in action.
Okay, so imagine this. First, you get a C+ in a class you really care about. Ouch! It's a bummer, not what you were hoping for, and your confidence takes a little hit.
Then, to make a bad day worse, you get back to your car and there it is, a parking ticket. Ugh, the frustration level starts to climb. It just feels like one of those days where nothing is going right.
And finally, the last straw. You call your best friend just to vent, and they're totally dismissive, not really listening. So now, what started as a few small setbacks feels like a total disaster. What happens next? Well, that depends entirely on your mindset.
If you're in a fixed mindset, these aren't just events anymore. They become a final verdict on who you are. That inner voice just spirals into these huge global labels. I'm a total failure. I'm such a loser. The setbacks are seen as proof that you're just not good enough, and that leads to this feeling of being completely paralyzed.
But from a growth mindset point of view, the reaction is completely different. The disappointment is still there for sure, but the focus immediately shifts to action and learning. It's not about, I am a failure. It's all about, what can I do? The problem is something to be solved, not a judgment on who you are. So here's the absolute most important part of all of this. You can actually choose to make this shift. You can learn to see challenges not as these big threats, but as genuine opportunities to grow. Let's break down exactly how you can do that.
Now, it's really critical to understand this isn't about some kind of toxic positivity or just pretending that setbacks don't sting. They do. The growth mindset isn't about what you feel. It's about what you believe about yourself, and most importantly, what you do next.
It all starts with just acknowledging what happened and how you feel about it without beating yourself up. Then you have to consciously reframe that inner voice. Switch it from a statement like, I'm a failure, to a question like, what can I learn from this? From there, you figure out specific actions and new strategies. And finally, you make a concrete plan. You decide when, where, and how you're going to put it all into practice.
And ultimately, this whole shift does something really profound. It disconnects your sense of value from the immediate outcome. The reward becomes the process itself. The act of tackling hard problems, of learning, of making a contribution. It's all about finding meaning in the effort, not just in the win.
So let's end by making this real for you. Think about one challenge that's in your life right now. How could you reframe it? How could you see it not as a roadblock, but as a real chance to learn, to adapt, and to grow? Just asking that simple question, that's the first step.